Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less. And this month I am sharing my top 5 games for a guys' night. My husband has gotten to start up some guys' nights again, and I really enjoy talking with him about what games he's going to pick out and how they go when they play them. And so these are all games that are 3 or more players, strategy games. Most of them are newer, published in the last year or two, and thematically, they all kind of seem to be either conquering the world, dueling each other, conquering monsters, slaying monsters, or set in the wild, wild west, which is really fun. I start with the easier games on the list and then progress up to the more intense strategic games, and I have them listed below in the description of the video if you want to skip ahead to a particular one. So let's get started. First up, we have Colt Super Express, which the goal of the game is to be the last bandit standing on the train. And you are programming out your moves in advance, and then people are moving all over the train, you're shooting each other off. It comes with expansions in the base game that add different elements, like a DeLorean time machine, a horse that can rescue you and save you and have you go up to the front of the train, even if you've been shot off, and a recoil card. So it is just a blast. There's nothing not to love about this kind of game premise. It is for really anyone. We've played this with younger kids through adults, and it is at its best with a larger group because there is just more chaos happening, where if you have somebody in the middle of the train, they maybe are getting shot like every turn, and they just are recovering each time because there's so much happening all around them, or you think you're going to shoot somebody and they're gone, and it's just super funny to see what happens when there's a bunch of people. And then it does get a little more strategic when you get down to the last few people and you're losing train cars. Those go off each turn, and so you're down to your last couple spots, and there's 3 bandits still duking it out. So it's great for anyone, but especially with larger groups, it is just a blast. And it's based on, the original game was called Colt Express. And again, it's like retained some of the basics of what made that game so great, where you're programming out your moves, but that one plays a lot longer and you have to pay a lot more attention to do well for that game. Still really great, just a little longer, and you might not be able to fit as many plays in. And I like this one too because there's enough luck involved that even your weak, like if you have a weak link in your group that kind of struggles with new games the first time or through and it takes them a little while, they might just win this one because so much is going on that someone overthought their moves and they ended up getting shot off, and the person who didn't really know what they were doing just lucks out and wins. So it's pretty fun that anyone can do well, and it's fun that, like, I like this one too because the process of the game, of playing the game, is so fun that even if you get shot off in the first turn or two, you're not too upset because you're seeing what's going down with everybody else, and the games are short. So you end the game and then you just can pick up and play another one right away. So it's not quite the in some of the other games where you start playing a few rounds in, it's your first turn and you make a bad move and you're like, oh, well, I've effectively lost the game, but now I get to sit here for another 45 minutes and just get beaten down. This one, you lose, you're out, and then just set up a fresh game and play again. Next up, we have Bang the Dice Game. Yes, another Western themed game. This one is a few years older, but oh my goodness, if you haven't played it, it is fantastic, especially with a larger group. And your goal in this game is to win, and you win in different ways depending on the role or the team that you're on. There's like there's sheriff, outlaws, and renegades. And you can have deputies on the sheriff's team, so it can be more than one person. But basically, the sheriff's team wins if everybody else has been eliminated, their life points have been taken out. The outlaws win if the sheriff has been eliminated, but it doesn't matter if the renegade is gone or not. And the renegade wins if everybody else is out of the game. And so but what makes it especially interesting is there are secret identities. You only know who the sheriff is, and everybody else has their roll cards face down for the game. And so you're rolling dice each turn and you're trying to figure out, based on who people are attacking, what role they have and who's on your team. Because it's very frustrating if you're a deputy and the sheriff keeps on shooting you because they don't know you're a deputy. And you also have character cards in addition to your role. So you can be something like, they have pretty great names. There's Calamity Janet and Bart Cassidy and Jesse Jones. And then those character cards add to the game because you get special abilities from them as well, and like special powers and different things you can do with different dice rolls. So it's really fun. And then the dice themselves. So this is originally an Italian game, and the Italians have a very if you've heard of spaghetti westerns, it's a very like a romanticized view of the American West. And this is full on point with that, where there's Indian arrows, a Gatling gun, you can shoot bullseyes, and that's how you do damage to other people. And then there's dynamite, and if you lose health, you can restore it by rolling a beer. That's how you restore your health in this game. So you get to roll 3 times and then choose which dice you're using. And there's a lot going on, but it's all pretty manageable after you've played once. And if you play with somebody who's played before, then they're able to walk you through it, and it's not too tricky. But it is just so fun with a group of people to be trying to figure out, like, okay, based on who's attacking the sheriff and who's attacking other people, which groups you're in. And there's a lot of different ways to win. And it is an absolute hoot to play. You can still play with 3 people if you don't have any secret identities and you just have the 3 different roles, and it's still very fun. But this game is at its best with a big group, and I every time it has a great staying power. This is a game that if you start playing it with your group, you might play it like every month or so, but it's one that people are going to be asking to bring back to the table because it is just such a great time to play. Really win or lose. I love games like that for these game nights where people aren't going to leave with a, like, oh man, I lost it, everything. If you just have fun playing the game, then it is a great game. Next on the list, we have Here to Slay, the much anticipated release of the makers of Unstable Unicorns. And this one is pretty simple. Basically, you win by being the first to collect either 6 different classes of heroes, or by slaying 3 monsters. And you start with a party leader and 5 cards. And so it's a pretty basic, easy setup and gameplay, and then you just get 3 actions per turn, and you then mess with each other for the rest of the game. This is a great game for people that just kind of enjoy, like, it's a I get you get me back. So if you have a group of guys that thinks that's hilarious and fun, this is perfect for that group. We played this with my younger son, and he hated this game and got very upset when people messed with him. So if you have somebody who does not like people messing with their carefully arranged cards and what they're trying to do over here, this is not your game. But if that just sounds like fun, what's great about this game is you do a lot of that, but you're still able to move forward. It's not like somebody's ever like cut your legs out from under you and you're like, well, now I don't even have anything left. What can I do? Worst case scenario, you draw a new hand and then you've probably a bunch of really good cards that you can get them with the next time. So I don't ever feel like when I've played this that I've been out for the count at any point. People are usually, by the end, it's very close who's going to get their final thing and be able to win. And you can sometimes do a few, play a few of the hero class cards on your last turn and bring that in to win. So you can kind of swoop in there and people don't see it coming. So it's nice because a lot of times it can be frustrating to have people just like, oh my gosh, they're attacking me and now I've got to get them back and now I have to build back up. And this one, it's kind of neat how they walk the line where there's a lot of that, but you're still able to progress and play. And on that note, if you do if you have a larger group, because this plays up to 6 people, and you're kind of being pretty even about how you're messing with people, it can take a little bit longer than 20 minutes. But if you're playing with a small group and moving along, then it will be 20 minutes. There are a number of different types of cards in this game. There are hero cards you play, and then you roll dice to activate the effects on them. There are item cards, magic cards, modifier cards, challenge cards, and I don't remember I don't think there are like any repeat cards. Everything has slightly different information. So your first time through, when you're getting used to it, it might take a while to get through this game because every card has slightly different information. Like there's certain types and you learn how to use those types correctly. The challenge cards are very fun. The modifier cards are very fun, and you can mess with people quite effectively once you've learned how to use them well. But it can take a while depending on, and then once you get it down and a few people that this is not a great game for people that struggle with decision making and need a lot of time to prepare, because usually everything's changed a little bit by the time it's your, even if you're playing with like 5 people and you're going around, by the time the person right before you does their stuff, everything's changed a little bit again and you have to sort out your move. So speedy decision makers, speedy readers, and who don't mind screwing with each other a little bit, then this is a great game. The graphics are fun and cute. They have all these expansions that are coming out. So it's very popular, a great choice for a game night with the guys. And it is really well done. Just know what you're getting yourself into. Next up, we have my current favorite, Unmatched. The best description I can come up with for this is it's described as a dueling game, but it feels kind of like a board game version of the video game Super Smash Brothers, where you can take different characters from very different worlds and pit them against each other and see how they do. There are, oh my gosh, we keep on getting different versions. We have another couple in the mail. My main critique of this game is that I usually really like the short 20-minute games because they're like 15 or 20 bucks each. So you're like, oh, I can try that for $15. I can try for this for $15. We've put a few $100s into buying different versions of this, and we're not going to stop anytime soon because they keep on coming out with more, and they're all really great and add new powers and abilities, and the game boards have different things going on with them. So the characters that are out right now are that we have is Sinbad, Medusa, King Arthur, Alice, Raptors, Muldoon, Beowulf, Little Red Riding Hood. You can battle with her, and she's very strong. The Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, and Bruce Lee. So you can have Bruce Lee battle Little Red Riding Hood and see what that matchup is like. It plays 2, 3, or 4 player. They just came out with, usually, originally they said it was 2 player or 4 player, but they came out with rules for how you play 3 player. And it's not anything too tricky. And, but that's kind of the beauty of this game. None of it is that tricky, but you just have to be, so strategic in how you play out your cards to try to take out your opponent. And, you have different types of fighters. You have range fighters and melee fighters, and so they have different zones they can be on, that the little circles that they're on have different colors, and some are multiple colors, so it's multiple zones. Medusa has a gaze of stone, and so they all of the characters have very specific abilities and powers to their player, but then there's general playing gameplay, so you can pick up any new deck and say, oh, okay, this thing is new, this thing is new, this thing is new. and it's fresh and exciting, but the gameplay itself is standard and you know what you're doing. You start with a hand of 5 cards, and then you can take 2 actions per turn, and it's maneuver, scheme, or attack, and that's it. So that's pretty simple and easy. But what the cards do and how you most effectively play them and position them. And I really do, we play mostly 2-player because then it actually is 20 minutes. It takes a little more time if you add in a 3rd player or 4th player. Basically, it's like 30 minutes or 40 minutes if you have 3 or then 4. But it's really fun with 4 because you play teams and you can have some of the, you can do really interesting matchups where like, Bruce Lee is one of the ones that they talk about all the time. He's a standalone set, and so you have to have another set, and then you get Bruce Lee to come in and play. And my boys had to watch a Bruce Lee movie because they were so excited about Unmatched Bruce Lee that my husband went and showed them a movie so they could understand where all of this coolness came from. So it's you mix up the different boards and stuff, so you can have like Bruce Lee with Medusa because she's range and he's melee, taking on Little Red Riding Hood and like King Arthur. Weirdly, King Arthur seems to be everyone's least favorite character. He's kind of, he has some powerful moves, but he's a little bit plodding and slow, and the other ones are just better. Sherlock Holmes can look in other people's hands and pull out cards and discard them for them. Sherlock Holmes is the most annoying to play against, but he's really fun to play as because you just mess with people the whole time. So the level of what you can do and just mixing up these characters, and some of the boards have different things they do. Some of them have secret passageways, some have ones where you lock the doors, and so people have to use a move, one of their maneuver moves to make it through there. So there's always something fresh and interesting. And if you're a Marvel fan, they're coming out with a ton of different Marvel versions. Like there's a whole bunch more coming out. I used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They have a Buffy the Vampire Slayer set. Like it is so fun to have just such a wide range. And usually I don't care that much about these things, but the art is beautiful on the cards, and it's they have my 9-year-old son now wants to learn how to paint miniatures because of this game. I don't know how to paint miniatures, so we're gonna have to figure out how, because they all come with these little intricate miniatures that are very cool looking. So it really has everything. So it packs a whole lot into a little short 20-minute game. But my main critique of this is that odds are you're going to really like it, and the odds are you're going to end up getting more and more versions of it because it just adds so much more to the game. But this is great. Guys night up to 4 people. This is spot on, a fantastic choice. And finally, we have 8-Minute Empire Legends. Don't play 8-Minute Empire. This is the updated standalone follow-up called 8-Minute Empire Legends, and they streamlined a few of the problems from the original. So the game is basically like Risk meets Small World. It's if you loved Risk but don't want to sit there and play Risk for 2 hours, this is your faster, more strategic, more fun alternative. And it says 8 minutes in the name. What I've heard is that's basically, think of it as 8 minute per player playing. So if you're playing with 4 players, obviously it's going to be significantly more than 8 minutes, but it's still speedy, it's still fast. And what's great is that the game is over when a set number of turns have happened. So if it's 2-player, it's just each player collects 13 cards, performs actions, and then you tally up points, and whoever has the most it's done, and that's the winner. So 3 players, 10 cards, 4 players, 8 cards. So you've got to get moving and do a lot in a short amount of time. And you start, just like Risk, you have cities and armies, and you're trying to strategically place them to control the most areas and have the most points. Unlike Risk, you can occupy the same space as another player. It's just whoever has the most armies there has won the spot and will get a point for it. You get points for occupying the most spaces on like a continent. The board setup is great in this. It's always different. They have these like big tiles that you arrange differently each time, and they're like big islands, these different tiles, and you arrange them however you like each time. There's a few criteria for how you do so, and that's your game board. So it's kind of fresh and new each time. And then, like Small World, you have a certain number of coin tokens here, and you have a row of cards at the top, and the first one is 0, and then I think it's 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3 for the ones that are out that you can purchase. And that's what you do for your turn. You take a card, and each card has an action and a special ability on it. So some may allow you to move your existing armies. Some may allow you to place a new city. And then there are special abilities that allow you to have an extra move the next time you're able to move, or you can place an extra city, or you just get extra coins at the end, or you can remove somebody else's army from a spot, which is really fun. I enjoy doing that one. At the beginning, that can be very helpful and very strategic. So there's a lot going on here, and it's just so great because this used to be my husband's and my go-to lunchtime game, because you could fit it in a really short amount of time, and it was so satisfying to play because you were doing a lot in that amount of time. And I loved playing Risk when I was a kid. Like, there's something kind of, I think a lot of people who grew up playing these games still have a little nostalgia for them, but have seen kind of, there's so much better stuff out there now that plays better, and man, this is one of them. So this version was published back in 2013, and I don't think it got quite as much of a buzz, just because the first one that they came out with was very good, but it had some, you'd get stuck going across water, you'd have to have a special card to go across, and so there were a few sticky points where it didn't play as well, and this streamlined all of that and fixed it. It just takes a few more moves to go across water. So if you have a move action, you can choose water or land, and it just works really well. So yeah, it is all the fun of some of these bigger games, but so quick, so easy, but there's a lot of strategy to unpack when you really want to play it well. So I would, if you haven't heard of this one, I would highly recommend to check it out. So that's it for our guys' night game list. I always try to find the best games to fit certain demographics of players, and we just love all of the games on this list. If you know of some games that we should check out, that would be great for a guys' night, please let me know. We are always looking for new great games. And please subscribe to my channel. I provide how to play videos for games so you don't have to read through pages of rules. And I also do a game night and top 10 game list, so you can just always be up to date on what's going on. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time from Game Like a Mother.